done today. First task is to flip the camera around. Little housekeeping here. Won't take but a minute. This is royalty-free music, by the way, during the intermission here. Hi. Hi. Check this out. I just speak and the words appear magically. Welcome to my sculpture studio. Feel free to ask anything. And be sure to check out my finished work at ClayBraven.etsy.com. It never gets that right. Hold on. Stop. Okay, hold on. I'm going to type in the address of my Etsy shop, which is kind of my online gallery. You don't have to buy anything there. You can just go check it out. And clay. There it is, ClayBraven.etsy.com. Period. Boom. Pin the message. Housekeeping done. Okay, we're going to pop some concrete sculptures out of the rubber molds. Yesterday, I put the concrete into the mold, as I always do, and today we're going to start peeling we're going to take the concrete sculptures out of the molds. Some people are asking, like, don't you ever do any actual sculpture? Like, aren't you supposed to be a sculptor? And that's what I ask myself sometimes, because I actually do shockingly little time actually sculpting clay like I should. But I have just started filming my hands working on actual clay, which I usually do at nighttime. And I have video software, and in just a few days I'm going to start having those high speed, you know, when sculptors are messing around with clay and they speed it up so you see the clay taking shape really fast. I'm going to make some of those videos in the next few days. I think in 3 or 4 days I'll have something really good, because I have to learn how to use the editing software. But it comes. For now, we just get concrete work in the daytime, which is kind of fun too, you know. It's worthwhile. Check this out. This is my drinking gourd. Oh, I love this. My casting technique in just the last 2 or 3 weeks has become so, I just love it. This is right here. It's shockingly thin right here, just like 1/8 of an inch in some limited spots. But in all of the structural areas, like around here, it's as thick as you see, which strengthens the whole sculpture. So this is strong concrete. It'll last forever. and yet it's so light. It's like as light as porcelain teaware. So anyway, I'm really happy with this. I've been doing this I've been casting in concrete for almost 12 years, and it's only now that I'm just beginning to sort of perfect the technique. So let's keep taking stuff out of the molds. Now you'll notice though that this has a lot of imperfections. Like check out the little bubble hole right here on the lip, and all these little foamy bubbles here, because this concrete was fairly wet when I put it into the mold. Still, it's all eminently fixable. Really no problem. If I were casting in something really precise and detailed like resin, this would be a catastrophe. But in concrete, there's a whole lot of leeway you've got later to work on it later on. Once again, very thin but strong. I love it. It's so light. These are the lightest versions of these I've ever made. I'm probably gonna keep these for myself for my farmer's market display, which I have to physically carry and hang up in the mornings because they're so light. And for customers, for ones that I'm going to ship to customers, I'll actually make them a little more robust, make them a little thicker and heavier to survive the shipping process. Because it's a real heartbreak when you spend 3-4 days working on a cast, send it to the customer, package it up. It takes a lot of time to package. Send it all the way to Wisconsin or wherever it is, and New York, Russia, New Zealand. I have customers everywhere. South Africa, Peru, and send it all the way to the customer. And a month later, it finally arrives, and they open it, and it's broken in half. You know, I don't like that. It happens. It still happens with about 1 in 100 sculptures, and that's few enough that I just say to the customer, okay, you want a refund or a new one? And I just bite the bullet, and they usually want a new one, so I usually make a new one. Once in a while, a customer will say, oh, just give me a half a refund, and that makes it real easy because I don't have to make a new sculpture. But anyway, that's that. Now let's take these out of the mold. Very nice. Bitty bitty nice. Hi, Lisa Bel Munoz, 1415. How you doing? This is my sculpture studio, and I'm taking concrete sculptures out of their rubber molds. I cast all these yesterday. I'm trying not to tear my rubber mold here, but I don't know if you can see what's going on here at all, but there. Got to manhandle these things. This is my banana sculpture, and I cast it in concrete. These are all ones that I cast yesterday, and today I'm taking them out of the rubber mold. This is just a daily routine of my concrete studio work. And this is a little one that I just made out of a little bit of extra concrete that was left over after I cast my main sculptures. Let's see how it turned out. Yeah, see, that'll make a cute little wall hanging, quirky, kind of funny. I'm going to paint it and polish it and lacquer it and then polish it. And these are pretty popular, these little ones, because they're low priced items. At a farmer's market, everybody's expecting to spend $5, and I charge $88 for one of these. So usually in my farmer's market stall, somebody next to me will be selling little dog treats or vegetables or something or other for like $5 a pop, and they're just selling one right after the other. Whereas for me, if I get 10 sales in one full day, one 4 to 6 hour day of selling, that's a big day for me. So I sell low volume, high price for a farmer's market. So having these little tiny, these are going to be refrigerator magnets, little $20 items is good for me to have a lower price points is what I need sometimes. I have little stickers for $3 too, little things that are easy to grab, easy for the customer to buy. More odds and ends here. This will be a refrigerator magnet too. I'll glue magnets onto the back. Oh yeah, gotta do this. One of my favorite things is the almost photo negative image that you see in these molds, depending on the sunlight. So this will be my avocado. My gourd, drinking gourd. Full of bananas. Little moon face guy. Feeling kind of chipper. And let's see, what's next? Oh yeah, yesterday I have a larger sculpture I'm working on. This is for a gallery, and this is what it looks like after it comes out of the mold. It's a 3-day process to cast it hollow. Casting it solid would be very simple, but it would just be too heavy for me to carry. So I like to cast it a little bit more light and elegant. And I have the mold right here. Okay. This is a two-part mold with a seam, and after I cast it, you can see where the seam is, where I've done some fixing here. Goes all the way up here. And this one, it comes out pretty rough, but I smooth it off with sandpaper and rasps. Then I do some filling and patching on the bottom. And this one is very close to being ready to paint. So that's what it looks like when it's done, or when the casting is done. This is what it looks like halfway through the casting process. Yesterday, I poured, well, day before yesterday, I poured this half of the mold and let it go rigid and feathered the edges up to the ridge of the mold, of this half of the mold. Then I let that go solid and strong. Better be strong. Yeah. That's not a structural crack. That's just a curing minor crack, surface crack. Then yesterday I cast this top half separately. Let it go leather hard so it wouldn't slump. Then lay it gently on top of this half of the mold, and then flipped it over and let the top half press down on the soft half of the mold so that they would conform to each other and minimize that seam. So you can see gaps where I feathered the thickness of the concrete down to 0 at the edge of this mold right here, where the molds meet. Today I'm going to pour relatively fluid concrete into here, mainly to let it trickle into the seam area and sort of glue these two halves together where they haven't already met. And then I'll let that solidify, and tomorrow I'll be able to take this whole sculpture out of the mold. So right now what I'm going to do is mix up some fluid cement, pour it in there, and just slosh it around as much as I can where I can't see, and get it to run, and then dump it out from the sides here, let it trickle out along here, and then just try to step away from this thing for another day. So I want to set it up like this. I'll put it in a bucket. Yeah, it's heavy, but not too heavy, considering that it's concrete. Yeah. I'd like it to be a little more level, but I don't know if that's possible. Well, it's good enough. So I'm going to practice this for a second right now. I like to kind of visualize what I'm going to do. Like in sports, you try to visualize yourself jumping over the high jump bar, and it can sometimes make you better able to do it in the moment. So let's see. I'm going to pour the cement in, let it fill to about that level above the bottom of the mold. At that point, it's going to be pretty heavy, and it's going to be like seeping out through cracks in the seam of these two molds, so it's going to be messy. Then I'm going to go like this, just use my muscles and shake it like that, roll it around a little, try to get it to seep into the molds, and then I'm going to dump it. And then I might use a little bit of the excess concrete to patch up little cracks and strengthen the bottom here. Then I'm going to do the hardest thing, which is to step away. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do now, so let's get started. water. Some tools. Turn on the fan so I don't blow, so I don't breathe all the concrete dust. Let's just go. Mix it up fairly fluid to about pea soup thickness. This doesn't have to be since the walls of the sculpture are fairly structurally sound already. I don't need a real structural layer. I need something more like a layer of glue that will seep into all the gaps in the seam between the two halves of the sculpture and glue them together really. And then tomorrow I'll be able to take the whole sculpture out of the mold and start looking at little areas that might need patching and grinding off the seam and just otherwise tweaking the finished cast and getting it ready for painting. This one's going to go to a new gallery over in Vancouver, Washington. I want it to look really sharp. This one that's getting finished, it may go to a gallery in Cannon Beach if I've sold my old one there. I'm not sure yet. This is fluid enough to put into a new mold, but the concrete, this firmed up concrete will really suck the water out of this fluid layer, and this is not fluid enough to pour onto hardened concrete because it'll stick and solidify and lose its fluidity, and it'll all just kind of get stuck in the top of the mold, which is down at the bottom right now because it's upside down, and it'll be top heavy. So I've got to make this more fluid so that after I swoosh it around in there, about half or a little more than half will dump out, will flow all the way out when I turn it back, when I turn the sculpture right side up. I want it to be fairly fluid. Okay, now I'm just going to make fine adjustments to its fluidity, and then work up the courage and just dump it all in there. There. It's just about like vichyssoise. That's how I like it. It tastes like potato soup. It is potato soup. That's for Bob Newhart fans out there. Okay, here we go. He's going to dump it all into this mold here, just so you can see it. Okay. Now the weight of this batch will make this thing fall over. Looks like hold it. Okay. Now I want to agitate it to shake it into the seed. Okay, let's go. I don't need that bucket anymore. Oh, that was one of the bungee cords that I used to keep the two halves of the molds together. It's kind of coming off there, but it's okay. Yeah. Things like this happen. There, that'll hold it. Okay, let's dump it. There it goes. It's dumping. Yeah. I could avoid all this trouble if I just cast the thing solid and just simply dump a huge amount of concrete into the mold and made it solid like those big awkward sculptures they sell by the side of the freeway. But I like to make it light and elegant if I can. So yeah, let's keep doing this. All right, that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. Now let's take this concrete and patch up some of those cracks that we saw earlier. I just generally strengthen the visible areas that you can see here. Because when I manhandle this thing, the bottom has to be pretty strong. When I take it out of the mold, there's going to be some more handling. And sometimes that makes the bottom part crack, the base crack. Also, the base has to be heavier than the top, so I put a lot of concrete down here at the bottom of the sculpture. This concrete will adhere to itself really well. looking good. Now I'm going to put something flat on here, put the whole thing right side up again, and let it sit for another day. Hi-ya! Good enough. There. Now let's look at what's inside of this mold. What we've just done is to put concrete basically inside there and flatten off the bottom a little bit. So we've put concrete on the inside of the mold that runs, of the seam that runs all the way around the top of this. And that's that. Let's put it away and move on to the next thing. So come back tomorrow at about this time, and I will be taking this out of its mold, and you'll get to see it. It'll be the moment of truth. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do for today. Let me see if there are any last-minute questions. Hi, Tammy Penn. But this is a workout, working with concrete. It's good. I don't need to go to the gym. So I'm going to go wash this, and I'll be back in about 90 seconds, and then I'll either answer questions or end the video. Okay, thanks for showing up at my sculpture studio. That's it for today. And tomorrow, come back again at about this time because that's when I'm going to be taking this sculpture, this concrete sculpture, out of this mold. Can you see that mold? It's very ugly on the outside, but beautiful on the inside. So we'll see that tomorrow. All right, take it easy. And go.